Jacob, it's National Get Over It Day. How long do you think it's going to take for you to get over Russell Wilson being traded today?
um, you have to give me at least a month or two, man. I mean, this is gonna sting for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure you and all the Seahawks fans out there, it's gonna sting and hurt for a while. That's for sure. Well, welcome, boys and girls, to the Lowing Brothers podcast, where today clearly we talk about NFL trades, including Russell Wilson, some Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers staying with the Packers. We have some college basketball dealing with Coach K's last game against UNC, and then some MLB changing. Looking forward to changing some rules in the game. But today we start off with Duke losing to UNC. Coach K's last game in Cameron Indoor, playing against UNC. They had this big ceremony, everything. Going into this game has been hyped. The ticket prices for these games broke records. I mean, tickets being sold for more than like most of the Super Bowls that happened in the past. I mean, just an absolute crazy game and crazy send-off for an amazing career for Coach K. But in the end, UNC wins 94-81 to put Coach K's day down in the dumps. UNC went in there and just dominated the second half and came out with the W. Jacob, what do you have to say about this game and even maybe Coach K's legacy and what happened this weekend?
I mean, I don't think it taints his legacy at all. But as a former North Carolina fan, or I should say still current fan, but as a former number one North Carolina fan, you love to see it, you know. I'm not going to act like I'm a huge fan of Coach K just because he was the coach of my rival school for most of my life. But I mean, you can't help but, have a lot of respect for the guy. And does it stink for him to lose his last home game at Cameron Indoor? Sure. But I mean, I think it was awesome to see. I said, I mean, imagine getting just wrecked by your biggest rival at home in your last regular season game, and you're the best coach ever. I mean, they clearly, honestly, I kind of feel like that Duke just kind of showed up and just figured North Carolina would let them win. Honestly, I mean, that's kind of the way it seemed. I didn't watch the game, but I mean, like, I wish I could have. Like it just, I mean, you saw a lot of griping after the game. Like, Duke was all pissed that North Carolina didn't give Coach K a ceremony at North Carolina's home game, and like, I mean, they're just kind of acting like total babies, which just makes it a million times better. It's great. I love to see it. I love to see it.
Yeah, no, I watched the game and it wasn't looking very good from the beginning for old UNC, but second half, man, I guess I don't know if you saw this, Jacob, but in the second half, UNC didn't sub any player in or out the whole second half. They went iron 5 the whole second half.
I love it, ballsy, but it worked.
They
had like 4 guys scored like 16 points. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like I've watched a couple games this year, not much. Yeah, they had 4 guys score over 20 points. But dude, Armando Bacot, who's like their big Baco, whatever, that guy, he is a dude, let me tell you what. A dude. And UNC has been playing some damn good basketball.
They've been playing well
lately, and that's what matters at the end of the season is who's playing the good basketball. And right now UNC's there, and I think, any team can make a run. You see what happens in the ACC tournament, and that's the thing. UNC beat them. They shut down Coach K's last game there, but they might still meet up this weekend in the ACC tournament. They'll have another shot at them, and I honestly hope that happens, and I hope to watch it, and I hope UNC absolutely destroys them again. But not gonna lie, I love Coach K. I hate Duke, but I feel like that always eased my tension of hating Duke. But now, since he's gonna be gone, I'm just completely won't stand them. And how lucky is, I can't remember, it's their assistant coach who's coming into Duke program. I mean, it's tough shoes to handle, but he has 3 of the top 5 recruits coming in, from the nation coming in next year. So, I mean, it'd be interesting how he takes over. I mean, Coach K spent 42 seasons at Duke, which is just crazy. You do not see that. Like, coaches stay for 20 years and they retire out of school, and they're just like, man, that guy had a legacy here. But Coach K, 42 seasons. That's just ridiculous. Like that, you just don't see that nowadays. And I don't know if you saw his. I sat and watched the ceremony after, like the 45-minute long ceremony after the game. I don't know if you saw on like a clip on line or something like that, where at the end of the game he was just like, "I'm sorry." He went to the fans like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "This was unacceptable," and everyone kind of like started like booing, like, "No, no," and he's just like, "Quiet." He's like, "Let me talk. Like, stop talking." Like he literally like yelled at this dude.
I saw that like
was,
10-second clip of that.
He's like, "This was unacceptable game," and I think that shows who Coach K is as a person. Like, I mean, everyone thought this was a ceremonial game. The thing is, I feel like 3 years ago, people lost to Duke. Everyone would have been like, "Oh, like this game's on you." But I feel like since it was a ceremony game, like he was not taking pity from anybody after the game. I think it just kind of shows. And he said too, he's like, "We might have lost this game," but he's like, we have we're playing the third season now. Like third season's happening now. That's what we're looking forward to, and we got a good team. And I just think that shows a lot who Coach K is. Like, he didn't let this one game. Honestly, to be honest, I don't even think Coach K really even wanted like all this like build up for his game and like the ceremony after. Like, I think he basically wanted to go coach, and after the game was over, not have to worry about a ceremony, just worry about the next game. Prepare for the next teams.
Honestly, I got to be honest with you. I don't like when people announce this is my last season, just because like. I don't like the whole send-off tour thing. Like, I like when guys do what Roy Williams did or Tim Duncan did and just say, "I'm done." Or Tom Brady. Like Tom Brady didn't want a send-off tour. It's like, just do the season and say you're going to retire. Like I just don't like this idea that you need to announce you're going to retire and then, teams have to spend the whole year, like, kissing your feet,
I get
because
that.
it's your last year. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why'd you announce ahead of time? Like, do your season and then quit after.
I get that too, but I also kind of understand, because then it gives a university time, and if there's coaches that are retiring, it gives them time to create a plan. Maybe Coach K thinks my assistant should take over. Maybe some big coach, leaves a job, or some upcoming coach. I think it gives them time, but yeah, I don't know. I love Coach K. It's gonna be weird not seeing like him or Roy Williams, because I mean that's clearly, I know Coach K was beyond our time too, but like. We're just getting to a time now, Jacob, where Tom Brady's retiring. You have all these players that are retiring. I mean, Roy Williams, who I've known growing up the whole like Coach K, like all these people, like a new generation's just coming up, like new coaches. Next thing you know, like Nick Saban's gonna retire, and it's just gonna be weird.
I got a feeling we got at least 10 good years of Nick Saban left.
Yeah, I got a good feeling of that too. Well, I was watching the game with Weston, and he's just like it's sad, but he's like, I forget that like Coach K is like 72 years old, like that, but he doesn't look that old on the court. Honestly, I know he's old, but
he's been a Division I KED basketball coach for over 40 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be the helm of a program. Roy Williams was with North Carolina for less than 20 years, because he won a national title with Kansas in the early 2000s, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
which is, like I said, it's awesome. I hate to say it, I think it'd be cool to see Coach K win his last season. I'm not saying I want them to win, but it'd be cool to see him. But I was just so glad to, like, I was screaming at the TV, like I was so happy to see UNC. Like, seeing all the Duke fans cry in the stands and all that stuff.
And that is also a very, very sweet thing to see. Except I'm not going to act like I don't enjoy, drinking the tears of the Dukies.
Yeah, but this is nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so they played an iron 5, Jacob. The people off the bench, the next person that played the most minutes played 5 minutes for UNC. like, dude, it's just nuts. Like how UNC's got a tough team, and they play good. They play good D, and they're great against Duke. They shot 19 for 22 from the free throw line.
That's pretty good.
Like that's just nuts. I mean, they won the turnover game. Like they did everything. They did everything right in the second half. But
Jared, while we're on the topic of coaches who have been with their school, Jim Boeheim's been at Syracuse since '76 as a head coach. That's 40. He's in his 46th season.
Holy crap!
And he was the assistant for 7 years before that, and he played there for 4 years. So he's been at Syracuse since 1963 as a player or coach, except for in 70. Yeah, there was a 2-year span in '67 and '68 where he wasn't there. He probably got a job somewhere else. But yeah, he played from 63 to 66, was an assistant from 69 to 76, and has been the head coach since 76. So he's basically been at Syracuse for 60 years.
That's nuts.
With a 2-year gap. Like, I mean, and he's only 2 wins away from his 1,000th win.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
Like I said, I mean, we're getting to, the end of, an era of coaching where, I mean, Tony Bennett's been at Virginia for a while, but, coaches like Tony Bennett are starting to take over. Like Chris Beard at Texas Tech. What's his face in Baylor? I can't think of his name. Who's Baylor's head coach?
I can't think. Kansas too.
Yeah, I mean, Bill. I mean, how old's Bill Self? I mean, he's only mid-50s, right? He's probably got 20 years left at Kansas. He's on a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
He said, I mean, we're kind of ushering in a new era of, of head coaches here. So I mean, it's kind of going to be fun to see how this all works out.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, just last thing to say here. I sad to see Coach K go. One hell of a career. It's not over yet. It'd be interesting to see what Duke does in the tournament here. I'm assuming they'll get a top seed or whatnot, but
they'll get a 2 seed.
Be interesting to see what happens there. But great career from Coach K, and definitely going to miss watching him. And it's just different. It'll be different not seeing Roy Williams and Coach K on the court. I know this year Coach Roy Williams wasn't out there, but just an end of an era and great career from Coach K. Agreed. But moving on, I will move on to the NFL with this week with just some crazy signings, some trades happening going on, and I think we're going to start with the question I asked you at the beginning of the episode. The Russell Wilson being traded to the Broncos, which was just I don't know. I honestly don't know how you feel about it, but the Denver Broncos got Russell Wilson, a 4th-round draft pick. The Seattle Seahawks got Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, D-line Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. In a blockbuster trade that, I mean, the Broncos have been trying to go after quarterbacks all offseason, I think they're trying to go after Aaron Rodgers. I think they got their quarterback, and I think Denver's ready to try to win a Super Bowl, and Seattle looks like they're heading to a rebuilding. It's going to start rebuilding here, Jacobs. What do you think about your Seattle Seahawks with this trade that they made?
I believe I said on the podcast 2 weeks ago that Russell Wilson wasn't going anywhere, which I was clearly very wrong. As early as last Wednesday, less than a week ago, Pete Carroll was saying, and Russell Wilson were saying that there was no entertaining offers, and that Russ Wilson was saying like 2 weeks ago he was going to win more Super Bowls in Seattle, which was clearly all of that was just a big lie, which I don't appreciate. But I'm going to try to not let my emotions. I've had a day to grieve, and I'll continue grieving. But I like to think that I've had enough time to think about this situation in a logical fashion, and I don't like it, but if they were going to get rid of Russell Wilson, I think this was probably the right way to do it. Because you need to think about what the quarterback market is going to look like now. With Aaron Rodgers signing a $50 million a year deal, Russell Wilson's going to want that in 2 years when his contract is up. I'm not sure the Seahawks are willing to pay that much, and I don't know if they should be. Russell Wilson is turning 34 this year. I don't know if we need to be offering a 36, 37-year-old quarterback who isn't Aaron Rodgers a $50 million a year deal. So I kind of think he was out the door in a year or two anyway to free agency, so we're not getting anything back for him in that situation. So, I mean, this way, they get him off the payroll now instead of later. You get some draft capital back that we lost in the Jamal Adams trade, which I thought at the time it was a great trade because the Seahawks stink at drafting the first round anyway, but that's looking like a bad trade, so they need to get that draft capital back. They got Fant, who is not a great tight end, but he's serviceable, and he's big, so he should be able to run block a little bit for Pete Carroll's system. They got, what's his name, Shelby Davis. He's a good defensive tackle. Seattle's really weak in the interior line on the defensive end, so it's kind of nice to get a veteran in there who they can kind of count on to plug things up in the middle. And the big thing is right now, Drew Lock is now the only quarterback on the roster. Geno Smith is a free agent. They don't know if they're going to sign him back. And I kind of think they need to roll with Drew Lock. And here's my logic. I think throwing Drew Lock out there for a season is a win-win. In one situation, he's just terrible. They win 3 games, and then they just draft Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud next year. No big deal. And then, or he plays well this year. The experiment works. He's a top 15 quarterback in the league. Maybe I have no inclination that he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league. But I mean, Drew Lock has played great in flashes. And I think if they just, fix a few things, that he could definitely be a top 15, top 10 quarterback in the league. And that's all he needs to be on that roster if they can just clean up the defensive end and start running the ball well again and just go back to the old formula that worked for Russell Wilson's first 3 seasons. And, then they sign him to not a $50 million, maybe they get him on a $20 million deal and they get him for cheap and they just extend him. Like I said, or he sucks. And then you get CJ Stroud or Bryce Young next year. So I don't really have a problem with taking Locke in that trade. I think he'll be fine. Like I said, if he sucks, he sucks. I don't think we need to go out and try to get Geno Smith as a 1-year stopgap. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think we should go with the higher ceiling player, which would be Locke. I mean, he definitely has a higher ceiling than anyone else that they can get at this point, especially because he's young and he's clearly very talented. He just needs to, clean up his mental skills a little bit. But just as far as Wilson leaving, I mean, it makes me really sad. I wish they wouldn't have traded him. I'm not saying that it was a bad trade, but I would have liked to see Wilson stay for his whole career because, I mean, he's been the starting quarterback for the Seahawks since I was like 12, 13 years old. Somewhere in there. So, I mean, it just kind of stinks to see him go. Sucks to see Bobby Wagner go, too. He's been the cornerstone of that defense for just as long. Those are the last 2 players from the Super Bowl roster. So, I mean, they're completely starting over at this point. They'll admit it, but they are. I guess that's my long-winded explanation.
Yeah, no. I thought this was a good trade. Like you said, I think after all that Russell Wilson talk of being like, oh, we're staying, that's all talk because I think that's them just covering their asses. That if a trade didn't go through and Russell Wilson stayed, the relationship and all the fans still like him. It was all in the works the whole time to try to get him out of there, in my opinion. And for the Seahawks, like I said, I think this was a great trade for them. I mean, they get all those draft picks. Like you said, I don't know the whole ins and outs of the Seahawks and their past trades, but I mean, they get all these draft picks. They get Drew Lock, who this will be his 4th year in the league. He started his second season he played 13 games, started 13 games. Didn't have the best stats, but I don't know. I just think getting all those draft picks, getting Noah Fant, a good tight end, I think he's going to have targets to throw to. So if he is a terrible quarterback with all the targets that he has around him, I think that just shows what kind of quarterback. I saw something interesting that maybe with this trade happening and stuff like Russell Wilson out, that the 49ers could be thinking about trading Jimmy G to granted that's a division rival, you don't want to do that, but getting Jimmy G, trading to the Seahawks, maybe they get something more out of it and they can roll with their guy Trey Lance.
I would gladly take Garoppolo if he wasn't so expensive.
So, I don't know. I have nothing else. No, nothing to say. Honestly, I thought it was a great trade. I think it worked for the Broncos. The Broncos want to win now. They have the items there to win. I mean, people said all season this year that the Broncos are just a really good quarterback away from,
they are. This is a great trade for the Broncos, and they didn't really lose a whole lot for. Like I said, the Broncos are in a win now. The Broncos don't need those picks. They have a roster. They really beat up the Cowboys last year. I mean, they have a great roster. Like I said, they're just a really good quarterback. They're a lot like the Buccaneers right before they signed Brady. They had a really good roster, but their quarterback just wasn't getting it done. And like I said, and they got their guy. Like I said, Shelby Davis was a good interior defensive lineman, but he's not great. I mean, he's not an all-pro guy. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade for Seattle at the interior line, but he's not fantastic. Like I said, Fant is fine. He's not great, but like I said, I mean, I think he'll be a serviceable tight end. And clearly they don't care that they had to give up blocks. I mean, they didn't really give up anything other than some draft capital that they don't need. So I mean, that was definitely a great trade for them. I'm just not buying. I mean, I'm seeing all over Twitter, Seahawks Reddit, and all these media people that are like, man, the Seahawks just got screwed. And I just don't. I just can't agree with that. I mean, everyone is just pissed. So Wilson was worth way more than that, but was he really though?
don't know.
I'm not sure Russell Wilson's a top 5 quarterback anymore.
I just see that the Seahawks have struggled the past. I know Russell Wilson's been injured here and there, but I think they just struggled. I think they need to move on from what they've had. And I think it was a good trade. They got, like I said, draft picks for the next couple of years. I mean, they got a quarterback who could be something for them. We don't know. I guess we'll see this next upcoming season. But my thing is that I find it interesting
Please, God, they better not take Malik Willis or Kyle Pitts. I will have a meltdown.
Well, the thing is that I think this trade happened after the Denver Broncos realized that they're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers was the number one dude, and once they saw that they're not getting Aaron Rodgers, he signed with the Packers. He's just. I think the Broncos moved on. They're like, well, who's the next guy we can get? And I think that was Russell Wilson, and they made a trade happen.
I think so. I mean, from what I've seen, they've been working on this trade for weeks. But like I said, it kind of feels like, I mean, the timing was really uncanny. It kind of feels like that this was Denver's backup plan. They're not going to say it was. They're going to say that Russell Wilson was their guy. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of have a feeling that the Seahawks will probably trade down from 9. I don't want them to. I want them to take. This is a really, really good draft class outside of quarterbacks. I mean, like, they could probably get Sauce Gardner or Kayvon Thibodeau at 9.
Yeah.
If they slip a little bit, which is like I said, like, I want them to take whoever is the best player available that isn't a wide receiver. Because we're going to lose our other all-pro safety, who is Quandre Diggs. He's out. I mean, the only good player we have left on defense is Jamal Adams. So we need to work everywhere on defense. And on offense, it's like I said, I want them to take a quarterback because the quarterbacks in this class. I mean, honestly, like, if Desmond Ridder slips and they can get Desmond Ridder late, in the second or third round and maybe take a shot on him. But, like, I want to use those early draft picks because, like, our roster is not a good quarterback away from a Super Bowl right now. And I don't believe in drafting a quarterback unless that's pretty much your only need if you're going to be drafting at 9 or 10. So I'm kind of hoping for Sauce to get make the kind of start a new Legion of Boom kind of thing with Sauce and Jamal Adams and maybe find another safety. I would love to see Kyle Hamilton, even though he's a stupid Irish fall. He won't. He might go as high as number 2 or 3, but if he fell, he'd be a great other safety. So I mean, like, I just want them to take the best guy that they can get where they're at. If it's a center, I'd love to see another center come in. Maybe get another center later in the second round, but. Like I said, I mean, I think I'm not willing to say this is a bad trade or a great trade for them until 4 or 5 years from now when I see how these draft picks turn out. Especially next year if they can get a franchise quarterback and someone else with that other first-round draft pick. And hopefully Denver stinks so those draft picks turn out a little bit better.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I think it was a good trade for both of them, but I think we should move on because I'm assuming you could rant about this trade for hours.
Yep.
So, well, and speaking about, I think that after the Broncos saw Aaron Rodgers sign, they went with Russell Wilson. Let's move on to Aaron Rodgers ends up staying with the Packers, signing a 4-year, $200 million extension with the Packers, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. I've said this weeks before. I know Alex, I'm talking with him about the Broncos. He was almost paused Aaron Rodgers going there. I've said this whole time, he's staying with. I said he's either staying with the Packers or he's leaving, or he was retiring, and he stayed. So the Packers ended up franchising trade Devontae Adams. So you got that duo there. I don't know, Jake, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers staying with the Packers for 4 more seasons?
I've been saying this whole time, I think that was the most likely possibility. Either that or him retiring. I really didn't foresee him going anywhere else. If I remember correctly, I said there was a 40% chance he'd stay, a 30% chance that he'd retire, and a 30% chance that he'd find another team. And I was kind of right. I didn't say I was positive, but I was kind of right that was the most likely possibility. And I think this is... I haven't said it publicly, but I have thought to myself for the last few weeks that the Packers should throw everything in the kitchen sink at Rodgers if that meant he could stay, because if he leaves, they're 7 or 8 years away from probably winning a Super Bowl. They need to keep trying now, mortgage the future, see what happens, and it worked. They got him for really expensive, and every quarterback in the league should be really happy this happened because he just upped the price of keeping a high caliber quarterback for everyone else. Bad for GMs, good for the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. I think this is a great move by by Green Bay. I think they should probably draft him a wide receiver in the first round late to get him a little bit more help. I think the defense is serviceable. Get him a little bit more help. Maybe go defense second or third round. But I think it's a great move for Aaron Rodgers. I think he's kind of like the opposite of Russell Wilson. You know, Russell Wilson was always a go Hawks kind of guy, but always kind of wanted out. But like, I really don't think Aaron Rodgers really wanted out at Green Bay. I think he likes it there, and I kind of think he's just stirring up drama. But that's just my opinion on the matter.
Well, that's all Aaron Rodgers is drama. But
he's worth every bit of it, though.
I foresaw him staying, and that was a great pick to keep him there. A lot of money. I mean, they're probably feeling really stupid for drafting Jordan Love right now, though, because they traded up to get Jordan Love, and now there's no way in hell he's going to ride the pine for another 4 years. Like, he's going to get out, or they're going to trade him or do something.
They could trade him for like a 4th round pick and just say we screwed up, see you later, and just move him down the line. Maybe trade him to the Seahawks.
Yeah, I know. So
I take Jordan Love.
But I don't know. I think it's interesting, and the Packers are I think they're still, and they have been for Aaron Rodgers' whole careers. They're in a win now mentality. They're not trying to get by. The sad part is that Aaron Rodgers has been here for that long. He's only won one Super Bowl. He's like 11-10 in the playoffs. Like, it's not
He's not a great finisher. I mean, you can count on him to make it. I mean, to make it out of Wild Card weekend. But I mean, he hasn't been that successful in the playoffs. You're correct.
I mean, the man has a lot of MVPs, but only one Super Bowl to show for it. And I think, hopefully, the Packers' basic goal is that keep him around for 4 more years, try to get one more Super Bowl out of him. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there, and a lot of talented teams that, this might be tough. I think they can win one more with them, but I mean, I've thought that for the past 4 years, and they've got nothing out of it to show for it. So I don't know. I think it's great for the Packers to keep him. Great to keep Devontae with him by basically forcing him to stay there. But I don't know. I like the move for both of them. Like you said, the quarterback's going to be. I also hate that. I hate seeing Aaron Rodgers is worth the money, and I'd say Patrick Mahomes is worth the money. He got paid too, but just salary cap stuff. I think they have all the items there in Green Bay right now, but so I love Tom Brady for all those years for him taking he could have got paid a crap ton of money for his whole career, but never did because he was thinking more of the benefit of the team. But that's just who Aaron Rodgers is. I think after his 4-year stint there, the thing about Aaron Rodgers, he could get pissed at the coaches and stuff this season and management and request to trade and this year or next year. And the thing is, everybody will trade for Aaron Rodgers. They'll gladly take that money from him.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of his 4th year. I think he'll probably retire by then because I mean, how old is he now? 38.
He's old.
39. I mean, he'll be 42. I mean, and the only quarterback to ever. Yeah, he's 38. He just turned 38 in December, so he'll be 38 for most of the season. So I mean, but I'm gonna say, he'll be 42 at the end of that deal.
Yeah, and I don't think age is a issue. I mean, Tom Brady won a bunch when he was old too. I think Aaron Rodgers can play up to that. I just think he needs.
I'm not going to say that Aaron Rodgers doesn't try as hard, but I don't know if Aaron Rodgers takes care of himself as well as Tom Brady did though. He is. I mean, Tom Brady is the best football player ever, but Aaron Rodgers is definitely more talented than Tom Brady was. So I mean, maybe he can ride that talent out a little longer and not have to take care of himself as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do want to. I don't talk about Aaron Rodgers. I forgot to say this about old Russell Wilson. It's kind of funny that he left the hardest division, NFC, to go to the toughest division in the AFC with the Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders in there. It's going to be has to play Patrick Mahomes twice, Justin Herbert twice, and then also the Raiders with Derek Carr twice. That's going to be a tough division to play in.
Someone said on Twitter today that Derek Carr might be the best ever worst quarterback in the division.
Oh, that's some straight facts right there.
Just this year, Derek Carr had the 3rd most passing yards in that division and the 5th most in the league. That division had 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks in terms of passing yards. Yeah,
which is nuts. Yeah, also, that's funny.
That's ludicrous.
It's funny too because I know the Broncos are actually looking at Derek Carr too at some point, and then whatever happened. But anyways, I just had to go back to say that because I forgot to say that, and I just kind of thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean,
but I have
valid.
nothing else. I have nothing else really to say about Aaron Rodgers unless you do. I mean, we've talked about him a handful of times in the past already. So
yeah, I think I've said my piece here as well.
So I think we move to the next trade in the NFL, which happened today, where the Colts trade Wentz to the Washington Commanders, which last week we talked about Carson Wentz and his possibility getting traded. I'm pretty sure it was last week at some point. So the Colts traded Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders for 2 third-round picks, and then they swapped. Well, also one of the third-round picks can become a second round if Wentz plays 70% of Washington snaps. The teams also swapped a 2022 pick where the Colts moved up from 47 overall to 42 overall. Jacob, we talked about it last week. We said the Colts would be stupid to trade Wentz. It wouldn't have been stupid unless they actually got a quality quarterback that could win now as well. And here they are trading Carson Wentz for 2 third-round picks. Yeah, one of them could be second-round pick. It just seems idiotic because the Colts can win now. Unless they have a plan in their head about what quarterback's going to come up, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they're going to try to trade up and they have a lot of faith in one of the quarterbacks in the draft, but the Colts, I feel like in the next 5 years they're going to be swapping through quarterbacks now, unless they find some dude, but the Colts are good and they were ready to win now, and I find it ridiculous that they traded Carson Wentz for not even another quarterback, I don't know what your thoughts about this is. I just think Washington won the hell out of this trade, and the Colts definitely lost this, and it's not even close.
I think that all depends on who's playing quarterback for them next year. If they didn't take a quarterback on this deal, there are 2 possibilities. One is that they're confident they can get either A, Jimmy Garoppolo, or B, Deshaun Watson in a trade, because those are the only 2 quarterbacks left in that I can think of that are still on the market. Or there's a quarterback in this year's draft that they really like that they can get late. So either Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder. I can't think of any other reason why they would have done that trade without taking a quarterback in return. I'm going to change tune a little bit from last week because I didn't realize how bad Carson Wentz was down the stretch last week. Carson Wentz single-handedly played them out of the playoffs this year on a roster that, just like Denver, might be a good quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. You look at his stats in the whole season, and they were pretty good actually. But he lost the last 2 games. He had his worst game ever as a quarterback against the worst team in a league in their most important game of the season. And in their last 8 games, he threw for 200 yards twice. 200. That's not 200 yards. That's not that hard to do. In fact, that's easy to do. And he only managed to do it twice in their last 8 games.
He shouldn't have to. You guys got Jonathan Taylor back there. He doesn't need to throw the ball.
Even if you have listen, man, Russell Wilson was throwing for more than 200 yards a game when they had Marshawn Lynch on the team. You still got to be able to throw the ball. Like I said, he played them out of the playoffs. Listen, I think they should have gave him another year. I think everyone deserves another year, but I don't blame them for saying, I'm not sure if this guy can get it done down the stretch. He hasn't put together a good season since his MVP season, his rookie year that he would have won. By the way, he would have won an MVP that year. I don't blame them. I think the taste in their mouth is really is still lingering pretty bad after that second half of the season where he was just playing terribly. Like I said, I mean he lost that game against Jacksonville, the worst team in the league, the most important game of the year, and like I said, he just kind of shrunk down the stretch. I mean, I get Jonathan Taylor was playing well, but your quarterback needs to throw for more than 200 yards.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do get what you're saying to it. You definitely need to throw for more yards, stuff like that, but it wasn't the issue. Yeah, if the Colts go out and they make a trade and they get a quarterback, great. This worked out perfect for them. It 100% worked out perfect for them. I understand, like you said, Jimmy G's out there. I've seen talks even.
I kind of think he's their guy.
I
don't think they're getting Deshaun Watson.
Well, I don't think no one wants because nothing's gonna get settled with Watson until his other crap gets figured out. I've seen stuff that maybe they could trade for Kirk Cousins, but yeah, their best option is Jimmy G. And the 49ers haven't said it yet, but they're looking for a trade. I mean, maybe they stick with Jimmy G, which I think they'd be smart to do, but it looks like they really want to move on to Trey Lance, and I think that'd be a great trade if it works out and they get a quarter. If they get a quarterback, I've also seen Gardner Minshew too for the Eagles. I mean,
I don't really feel like that's an upgrade, but
it's not an upgrade, but it's a quarterback. I mean, I don't know. If they get somebody out of this, 100%, like yes, I
mean, this move just clearly feels like they're just trying to get him off the payroll because they're loading up to trade for another one. I mean, nothing else makes sense. Like I said, unless they like Matt Corral, because they pick. They might be able to get Pitts. I don't know exactly when they pick. Like, they might be able to get Pitts in the first round, but like, I mean, they're probably looking at Corral or Desmond Ridder in the second round.
Yeah. See, well, my opinion is I don't
think they need a rookie quarterback.
Well, no, I don't think so either. Like I said, clearly the Colts probably have a move coming up soon that we don't know about, and I hope to God for them it's Jimmy G, because if they don't get a quarterback out of this, I think it's the dumbest thing they did, because they can win right now, and if they don't get anybody, they could have won right now more with Carson Wentz than some Joe Schmo quarterback that they're going to be putting at the quarterback. So, I don't know. I find it a ridiculous trade, honestly. I thought it was stupid. My only thought was that, maybe they have another plan. They have a plan after him trading them.
There's just no way that they would trade him away without at least having something in the works. I mean, they must be very confident that they can get Garoppolo. I didn't think of Cousins, but yeah, like that they could get maybe Cousins, but then who's gonna play quarterback for the Vikings? So like, I don't think the Vikings are gonna trade away unless they want to go with Kellen Mond. Maybe they do, but.
Well, the only thing, and I'm assuming any trade that happens now with quarterbacks is going to involve Jimmy G right now. Well, so if it is Jimmy G to the Vikings and then Kirk Cousins to the Colts, like I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. Just the trade itself. I'm not saying anything looking towards the future. I'm just saying the trade didn't make sense to me right now at the moment. And honestly,
if they could get Garoppolo, I think that'd be successful, depending on what they get Garoppolo for.
Yeah, well, honestly, if you tell me just Garoppolo and Carson Wentz, like if you compare them next to each other, like I think they're basically I wouldn't say Jimmy G is that much better of a quarterback than Carson Wentz.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I mean, they're in the same situation, and Garoppolo actually wins games. You can say, well, Wentz didn't have to throw for more than 200 yards, but you can count on Garoppolo to play well enough to win. He's done it. He's done it 2 times. He wasn't great. He wasn't great that year they made the Super Bowl. He wasn't that great this year. But if you have a good roster around him, he'll win games. And the Colts roster is good enough for your quarterback to just play well and to win games. And Wentz just sucks so bad down the stretch that they lost games.
Well, I'm just saying your point earlier was like Carson Wentz didn't throw over 200 yards. And Jimmy G's last 5 games, there was 3 games he didn't throw over 200 yards. I know your argument could be, well, they still made the conference championship, but I mean that's the same.
Winning.
Yeah, they're winning, but that's not because of Jimmy G. I mean, that's not. And Carson Wentz, yeah, you could say they didn't make it to the conference championship, and you can put that on Carson Wentz, but like
he also plays in a much tougher division.
See, this is my thing: is that like
with 2 really good defenses in the division, maybe 3.
Colts don't make the playoffs, and it's Carson Wentz's fault. Jimmy G makes the playoffs. I know no one gave the credit to Jimmy G to making it this far, but then like Jimmy G gets a lot of credit for that, but he didn't. And it's not like I'm looking at these games that he threw the ball, those games Jimmy G too. I mean, there was a lot of games this season that he didn't even throw over for 200 yards. I guarantee that once he goes to the Colts too, it's not nothing's going to change. Yeah, he might have more composure. He played in bigger games than Carson Wentz, but I just don't see any upgrade. I'm sure maybe because I'm selfish, Jimmy G used to play for the Patriots. I will say like I think Jimmy G is a little bit better, but I don't think it's much of an upgrade from Carson Wentz to Jimmy G.
I mean, it isn't much of an upgrade, maybe, but it definitely is an upgrade. I mean, I've said this before. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have the volume though. He said, I mean, Garoppolo was second in the league in yards per throw. His lack of passing yards is not due to volume. Carson Wentz is averaging 6.9 yards per pass to Garoppolo's 8.6. Carson Wentz threw 70 more passes this year and had 300 less yards than Garoppolo.
Okay.
Garoppolo just doesn't have the volume.
Also, I will say I apologize. I was looking at the wrong side. Jimmy G did throw the ball well at the end of the season, but he also threw the ball over 30 times. Those games that Carson Wentz threw for under 200 yards, he didn't even throw the ball 30 times. I mean, I also think that's part of when you don't throw the ball, you don't throw as many for passing yards is also based off the fact that, your team might not be throwing the ball as much. You have some of these quarterbacks like Tom Brady and like Aaron Rodgers who throw the ball freaking 40 times a game, like Patrick Mahomes. You don't drop a quarterback as much as you would. You're not going to throw for many yards either.
Yeah, but that's the argument for Garoppolo. Like I said, I mean he's only behind Joe Burrow in yards per throw. So it's like he gets it done when he drops back. He doesn't throw enough touchdowns and throws too many interceptions, which I don't like at all. I'm a big touchdown to interceptions ratio kind of guy, which in Carson Wentz's defense was much better. He had 5 fewer interceptions on way more throws, so I'll give him that. He takes care of the ball. Like I said, I mean, I just think if you adjust for volume, that Garoppolo's probably a better quarterback. Like I said, it's not a substantial upgrade, but it's definitely better. And you get a guy who is going to win games down the stretch and can win you some playoff games. Carson Wentz never won a playoff game. He's never played a full playoff game.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. You're trading someone that's got experience. That's the only thing I'll give the edge to when you say Jimmy G. That if they get Jimmy G, that he has the experience in playing in big games, Super Bowl and stuff like that. That's the only edge I'll give. But if you looked at them side to side, in my opinion, I don't think it's much of an upgrade. They both have better stats over here and there, but that's the only thing. And that's probably what the Colts need. Some dude that has experience in big games and can win. But that's the last thing I'll say about the Carson Wentz trade.
Let's talk about the MLB then.
Yeah, so MLB came out a couple of days where, there's the big lockdown and all this and that, but one thing they did come up with is that in the season of 2023 that they can, and I don't think it's for sure, but basically the union, players union, let the MLB know that they're fine with banning the shift, a pitch clock, and bigger bases. And in my head, I'm not probably too sure I don't that much of a baseball guy. Maybe you can tell me what bigger bases do. But my big thing is the two things is banning the shift and the pitch clock. And the biggest thing in the MLB and you see on Twitter stuff is the banning the shift. Jacob, you can go off on the pitch clock and bigger bases after, but I want to hear what your opinion about the shift is. Because I feel like MLB world and fans, everyone is split. That the shift ruins it, and other people say the shift's part of the game. What's your opinion on MLB possibly banning the shift?
Honestly, I have gone so back and forth on this for the last couple years. On one hand, there is literally nothing worse in sports than dude shelling a ball to a gap that should have been a double that turns into a ground out. Like, that is just so hard to watch, and like that's not really fair to the hitter, but it is also fair. You can just go oppo. But you also got to keep in mind it's not just as easy as going oppo because when they have the shift on, they pitch these guys inside, so they have to pull. So I mean, like it's not as easy as just go opposite field, And I went to a Twins game back in September, and the Blue Jays shifted for every single batter when there was no one on base. They had the shortstop standing over top of second base, or the second baseman standing over top of second base, and then everyone shifted over. And for one or two at bats, they played 4 outfielders. Which, like I said, that's not fun to watch. Like it's not fun as a fan. Like I said, when a dude rips a ball into a gap, into what would have been a double, and it turns into literally into a ground out. Like that's so frustrating to watch. So I mean, I think I'm kind of a fan of it. I mean, of them getting rid of the shift, like just because it kind of makes the game more boring. But at the same time, adjust to the game. I mean, imagine the NFL banning 2 high safeties because Pat Mahomes can't go long. It's kind of the same thing. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't really care about the pitch clock. That's fine. If they want to do that to make the speed of the game up, then whatever.
I like just the fact you said it too is just I understand shifting's been part of the game, but I don't know what rule it is, and I don't know what it is. I don't like the whole part of completely banning the shift. Like if there's some rule like you can only put so many people on the left side of second base, or like so many people are whatever, like a general rule like that where a team can still shift, but maybe instead of a hit that would be a single, with a shift is just a ground out, that it could possibly take that sense away. Yeah, it could still end up in a ground out, but I think you have a better chance of it being a single. I definitely like, but rather than that, if it was shift or no shift, because like you said, it just sucks even watching some of these games where like I said, they shift the whole freaking team to one side of the field and pitch the batter inside to make sure he pulls the ball. Like it sucks. I don't like it. Yeah, and my big thing about the MLB is that their part of it right now is like just trying to make the game more interesting to fans, because MLB is losing fans and stuff like that because games take too long and like it's boring. And I love baseball. I love coaching baseball. I love playing it, but like I'm not one that I can sit down and watch an MLB game. In person, yes, but like TV, I can't turn it on. Like it's just boring to me. Now, I think it makes the game more fun. It makes, like I said, instead of shifting everyone over in a routine, would be a single instead of a ground out. You put more runners on the base, people score more. It makes it more fun to the fans. The pitch clock, I'm fine with that. Completely, it's 45 seconds. I feel like that should be plenty enough time for a pitcher to get his crap together. And the bigger bases thing, I don't even really. Is that I'm assuming that maybe it's for player safety, putting bigger bases out there.
It is a safety thing. It makes it so like when you're sliding into second and stuff, you don't have to slide so deep into the bag, or if you're running to first, the first baseman doesn't have to stand so close to you. I don't know how much bigger they're gonna make it, but it's mostly a safety thing. I mean, like the only reason you'd be against it is if you're a shortstop. Like it makes it harder to tag guys out, like when they're stealing or trying to stretch a single into a double, stuff like that. Just bigger base gives you more room to aim for, and if you overslide the base, it's easier to get back. It's harder to overslide the base, but like I said, I mean, I think the players have been asking for bigger bases for a while, just because I think it's just a safety thing. So I mean, that seems like a good change. I mean, back to the shift. I mean, I kind of think that maybe get like a best of both worlds, and you can only shift X amount of times a game, make it like 10, 5, whatever. Just just like when a guy like David Ortiz comes up, you can shift because David Ortiz was never going oppo. But like I said, now they just shift on everyone essentially, and they just work guys inside, which like I said, it's not really that fun to watch. Like I said, like the shift isn't new. I mean they've been shifting for decades against guys like David Ortiz, or like there's plenty of guys where they were just straight pull hitters. But like now, like I said, everyone's a pull hitter and everyone shifts. So it's like I'd rather see them play straight up and make the pitchers work the whole plate a little bit.
Yeah, no, I have really nothing else to add about it. I'm sure old timers or other MLB fans will have a fit about this. About it's just terrible for the game, and it's part of the game. Why are they taking away? Like old timers, we're changing too much pitch clock. Like whatever. I think it's good moves for them because I think it makes the game more interesting, which brings in more fans, more viewers, and makes them more money. Which I'm sure is about what any NFL, MLB, any of those associations are looking for, just to be able to make more money.
That's what they all want.
But I think that concludes our show today. Had a lot to talk about, a lot of NFL trades, Duke and MLB. The biggest thing to take out of this is that UNC won. That's all that matters. But we have a lot with March Madness coming up here. We'll have a lot to talk about in the next month, and it should be exciting.
I agree. I look forward to doing some deep dives into deep dives next week into how the bracket shapes out and stuff like that. So I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.